Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. This is a yarn shop, and we do a weekly podcast that talks about knitting and sometimes crochet and other things, but we try to keep it just at knitting. One of the things I wanted to talk about, we have a good big surprise coming, but one thing I wanted to talk about is I recently was watching some podcasts about knitting, and I'm a great devotee of knitting podcasts because I learn a lot. It's a great thing to watch when you're sick of whatever's on television, and you get to see lots of great stuff that's going on in the knitting community. But what a lot of people have been, and what I've been watching recently, people have been recapping what they knit in 2023. And it was a really interesting sort of rabbit hole that I went down, because once I watched one, then it put me onto another one. They were all podcasts of what people had made in this past year. It was really interesting in that people were showing great patterns, talking about why they liked them and why they didn't like them, and talking about the fit and what was wrong with the fit, what they altered in it, or why they decided it wasn't a good pattern, maybe just for them. But they also talked about the yarn that they used, and I was amazed at some of the people how many things they did knit in a year, and that they kept track of them. And a lot of people had notebooks like this. This is my little golden notebook that I carry with me all the time with my notes for knitting. People had put down when they started them, when they finished them, and it was, for me, was a great way to see, other than Ravelry, you could actually see the garments, people wearing them, and talking about what was good and what wasn't good about them, and why it was a good pattern or wasn't a good pattern. So I recommend that. You can, I think if you just go to Knitting Podcasts and type in what I knit in 2023, a whole bunch of them will pop up, and it was pretty enjoyable watching. I watched another podcast, someone that I really like called, her name is Casey, and her podcast is called Young Folk Knits. And she did an exercise where she pulled out all her works in progress, which made me feel a whole lot better about myself, that I had works in progress. But she really had a lot of works in progress. And so she was deciding whether to frog them, which means to rip them out, or to pick them up later and knit them. And it was good to see, and in a lot of these other podcasts I watch, people were talking about just ripping out something, that they no longer liked it, they were going to then rewash the wool and use it for something else. And I think that that's a really good idea to do. Or to give away something that they had made that didn't fit. But Casey had a ton of, and she had a lot, I think way more than I do, unfinished projects that she was going to go back to, and I have no doubt that she will. They were all beautiful, but like a lot of knitters, there's a shiny object here and a shiny object there, and you get off on a tangent and want to do something else. Or a test knit comes up. A lot of knitters do test knits for designers, and so they'll put down whatever they're doing and start doing test knits. Anyway, I do recommend watching podcasts. I think they're a lot of fun. You learn a lot, and it keeps you away from like TV that's just not so great for you to watch sometimes. I just got back from Vogue Knitting. I don't like to talk about myself and things that I've done that much, but I did have, Vogue Knitting is a big knitting crochet show in New York City. It happens every year. It's sponsored by Vogue Knitting, and it's 2 big floors of vendors for knitting and knitting related things, plus a huge number of classes that you can take. I think I've only ever done one because I never get my act together to sign up in advance, and then all the ones that I would like to take have already been filled. I think next year I'm going to try to really get in early and get some good classes. There are lots of really good designers and teachers there that teach good classes. Some people go from the show itself, really, it starts on Thursday with classes and classes on Friday, and then Friday night the marketplace opens, and that's open Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's just a plethora of beautiful, beautiful yarns from everywhere from Barocco and ones that you know to lots of independent dyers. And there's jewelry, there are tools, there are all kinds of fun things. And if that's not enough for you, then there's just an amazing number of people in fabulous knitwear. So you can sit there with your knitting and watch people go by and talk to people. It's a lot of fun. So I recommend it. Besides, you get to be in New York City, you can go out to nice restaurants, and some people, I think they get discounted tickets for Broadway shows. So some people go to a show every night, and that's fun. So it's a fun thing to do. It's at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square, a very busy place and a very fascinating place to see all kinds of crazy stuff goes on in Times Square. And then people stay in the hotel. I don't usually, because I usually find a cheaper place to stay. But so the other thing I wanted to mention is what I'm wearing. This is the Paul Klee sweater. Paul Klee as in the artist, Klee. And now I'm just blanking on the designer, but you'll see it. We'll hold it up. And I did it in, I think it's a hand-spun merino that I got at Wool & Folk last year. And it was done, it's a small sheep farm in Pennsylvania. And it's the softest, most wonderful yarn. It's a fingering weight. And I did that, and then I did the top. This is stranded knitting, so it's only 2 colors per row. And it's fingering weight, and they're just mini skeins that I had from all over, or they were from other skeins that I had. So there was no rhyme or reason to what I chose. I just played around with it.
Is it Midori House?
Midori Hiroshi is the designer. I will say it's not the easiest fit. I find myself pulling it down a little bit, but that's my body. But I love wearing it, and I wore it at Vogue and got lots and lots of compliments. I pulled out some yarns that we have that would be appropriate. I didn't pull out all the colors, but I pulled out just the types of yarn. This is Ultra Wool Fine, which would work. It's superwash wool and made in Peru. So that's one. This is the Vintage Sock, which is wool, acrylic, and nylon. That would also work. We also have Sanduskarn Baby Yule Lanette, and that might be a little bit on the heavier side, but I think it would be fine. Very soft. And this one is, merino, 100% merino. So it's very soft. And another one I chose is the Machida, which is a fingering weight superwash from Malabrigo. Comes in a lot of colors. And finally, Isair Alpaca 2, which is alpaca and wool blend. Very pretty, heathery kind of yarn. And then for the colors, I chose, and you can just go into your stash, but we have some here in the Fino, these mini skeins. So you could choose some of those. There are these in the blues and grays, and then this group. But you can go into your stash, I'm sure, and find lots of colors. Well, we have a nice surprise for you today. Fjola Duncan, who has worked in the shop for 4 years, 5 years, 6, 10 years?
11, 12.
A long time. And she has just this summer moved to Maine, up north, and will eventually maybe settle somewhere else up there. But still works for us and does our books and does all kinds of great stuff for us. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Fjola comes back occasionally. And today she's going to talk to you, and this was a big thing that went on at Vogue, was talking about KnitCompanion. And KnitCompanion is?
KnitCompanion is an app. It's not exclusively for knitters, but it's also for crocheters, and I personally have used it for my counted cross stitch. But it's an app available on the App Store. I'm not sure if it's available for Android, but I do have Apple products. I put it on my iPad, and we have it here on the iPad at the store just to show you today. I just searched for KnitCompanion, and this is the one that you want to look for. It's got the little blue and yellow, looks like a ball of yarn. And if you're just looking at it here, you'll see things moving and changing. It's just kind of giving you a hint as to what the app can do. I like it because if I'm traveling, I can just bring my iPad. It's downloaded on there, the pattern, and I don't have to bring paper. Kind of save on printing. And it will link to your Ravelry account. So if you have a pattern that you want to put onto your KnitCompanion app, there's a way to do it, very easy. You just allow access, and then you have it on your iPad. I have an iPad mini and I have a large one. I would say it's harder to use on your phone. It's very small.
Oh, right. I would think so.
Yes. But it helps.
And you could put it on if you have just a laptop.
Yes.
You could use it on your laptop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to ask specifically?
Yeah, so how do you start using it?
Okay, so you download the app, and I believe there's a free version and a paid version. I started with the free version, which worked for me in the beginning as I was trying to get a hang of how to use it. I did move on to the paid version. Back in the day when I did switch over to the paid version, I believe there were 2 tiers of the paid version, and I went with the higher one because I always want more. But it allows you, there's a setup, there's an edit, it comes with 6 different counters, which is great because some patterns will have you say knit this, and then you read a little further along and it says at the same time do this many times. So you have 6 different counters, and you can assign them what they're specifically counting.
So this makes it easier than like those of us who write down this, or you're supposed to do this, and at the same time you write a column over here, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yes.
But it will do that for you?
Yes, and you can set the counters to start at row 1 and end at row 10 if you have a 10 row repeat, and then it'll just start over. You can set the counter to count up or down, and it's just very handy.
So what are these things? I'm seeing lines here.
Yes, so there.
So
let me just
put your
wait.
chart in there.
Yep. So you can highlight your rows, and you can move the counters. Move the let me see if it cycles back. There'll be a horizontal highlight bar and a vertical. You can move either one. Oh, and then let's see if I can just do this. No, I'm not going to do that. You can, if you have a chart, you can move the highlighter as you advance in the chart.
And it'll stay there.
It'll
like
stay
this,
there.
So,
Yep.
And what's the vertical line?
So the vertical line, if your pattern is split into 2 columns, you can move the vertical line over. If you're done with column 1, and then you're starting on column 2, you can move the vertical line further over.
And so it will save all your patterns.
It will save the patterns, and
it will, when that yellow line, which is the row that you're on,
stays there.
It'll stay there.
Yes. So if you go to another page of the pattern,
or if you turn off the
if you turn off your device and then come back to it, everything's right where you left it.
It's all there. Is there a way to take notes on it, or?
Yes. So there's a note taking. You can either just get the little pencil and write on the page, or there's you swipe up and there's a little note section on the bottom. If you're working on a project and you come across something that you're not familiar with and you need to look it up, you can find a video and you can actually embed it right on your page and refer to it and play it if you need to.
So if you want to be doing, say, the Kitchener stitch, you could put that, embed that little video in your...
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to go to your phone and do it, you'd have it right there.
You'd have it right there.
Or if you need make one right, make one left.
Exactly. Or slip knit, or, even this, things that you use often and you tend to always have to refer to something, you can have it right there. And you don't have to remember how to do all these things. The woman who developed the app has very, very helpful video tutorials on how to set it up so it works for you.
Okay, so you would say is there a big learning curve on this, or is it pretty user-friendly?
It's very user-friendly. The basics, which is what I started with, was very easy to get the hang of. It was when I was trying to learn the more advanced things, then the learning curve goes up.
Yeah, but
like I know that you can embed a video, but don't ask me how. I will have to refer back to her video.
But she'll show you.
The Very Pink woman has tutorials on this on her website.
Oh, she has
and
Very
they're
Pink
very good
knit.
because she was a collaborator.
Okay, so a lot of you use Very Pink knits for your videos to learn how to do stuff. So she was involved in developing this. So she's got videos on how to do this.
Yep.
And this will save you from, we have people who come in and say, I lost my pattern, or I was doing such and such and I lost the pattern and I don't remember the name of it.
Yep.
So if you have all the information is there on your...
Yeah, and if you have a pattern, if you can save it to Dropbox, you can also get your patterns from Dropbox onto KnitCompanion.
Oh, wow.
Or if you have a PDF, and you can then request that it be saved into KnitCompanion.
So I found that Pro Soho patterns aren't in your Ravelry library. So those patterns you have to upload a different way. You do it as a PDF into Dropbox.
Right.
But it's very intuitive once you
Start doing it.
do it.
Well, from the people I've talked to, those who've started using KnitCompanion say they'll never go back to paper. I
use both.
have a friend who just took all her paper patterns and threw them out.
Yeah.
But she put, what she wanted to save on KnitCompanion. Is there a limit to how much you can save on there?
I don't know.
Huh.
What I do is once I've knit the project, I delete it from KnitCompanion. It's still in my Ravelry library, so I can still access it if I want to knit it
but you take it
again.
out.
But I take it out. but I
Yeah.
still probably have 30.
I think it's still in there, actually, because it deletes it from your active projects, but it's still in your local.
Okay.
So
That's
anything
interesting.
in your library, your Ravelry library,
Will stay.
You can access it.
can
Wow.
access it right away,
Wow.
just by
wow.
typing in the name.
Do you know what the cost is for the upgrade or the?
I don't remember.
It
Okay.
was $14.95 a month, but
14
Maybe
something
it
a
was
month,
less
or
than
who
that.
knows?
Yeah, I think
I
it's
use
a
the free
yearly
account.
billing.
maybe it's a yearly thing
Yeah,
of
I think-
$100 or something.
I don't even think it's that
Yeah.
expensive, but honestly, I don't know. It's
Right.
Right.
I just pay it. When,
Well-
you know.
Suffice to say, this is a great new tool, as tools go. And when Ravelry came out, I think people were skeptical and, what is this all about? And gosh, I think that's been, is it over 20? No,
I think it's like maybe 15 years.
15 years. And, I couldn't live
Can
without
you
it.
manage living without
No,
it?
I can't imagine. I don't know what we did before Ravelry, because
Patterns.
all our patterns come from Ravelry. And I was looking up how many millions, there's millions of patterns on Ravelry. And they're, I don't know, between 1 and 3 or 4 million subscribers. So I'm thinking this, and as I saw at Vogue, there people were very interested in it. They did a presentation, although I don't think it was the best presentation I've seen, but I think this has caught on, and I think that you can gain a lot from using something like this.
Yep. So I brought my knitting project down from Maine and my iPad, and
There
that's all I
you go.
needed.
There you go, yeah. And you're not fiddling with papers
And I can knit in the car. You can use the app on the road.
yeah,
So
She's not driving.
that's,
I'm not driving.
no. That's great. Well, thank you, Fjola. We
You're welcome.
really appreciate, and we're going to call on you for other little things throughout the year. So we appreciate that, and I hope that you'll give it a try. I wanted to just mention one thing that's coming up. I'm going to do probably two things. I'm going to do a sock workshop, which I have mentioned, and we might be doing something a little more adventurous with socks. So we might do a beginning class and then a more advanced, maybe for socks with a design or something like that. I haven't quite figured it out. And the other thing I'm going to do is repeat the workshop I did on making a sweater that fits. And I still hear from people, I'm not knitting a sweater again because I made one and it didn't fit me. Well, I'm going to show you how there's no excuse for that and how you can make a perfect sweater that fits you. So until next time, happy knitting, and we'll see you in a week. Take care. Bye-bye.